Hustle culture is the idea that productivity, working long hours, and grinding at the expense of things like personal needs or a social life, all for the sake of money, is very important. It's promoted and sold to us regular folk by guys like this.
You mean everybody? They're like, do you know how many people tweet hustle and work 6 hours a day? Like, I know. I know.
Slaves worked all the hours they were awake for their entire lives. I think like if they can do it, so can I.
If you're a guy in your 20s and you don't have a Lamborghini, you should actually sit down and have like a serious discussion with yourself.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here.
Now, of course, some of this seems really ridiculous, but it's not always that crazy. A lot of people in the hustle culture community are really good at selling you the dream of working hard and getting rich, but they don't give out all of this information for free. Usually, it comes at a cost. And after years of these gurus selling lies, scams, or information that you could find yourself for free, people are starting to wake up and realize that most of hustle culture is a scam. So how did society let these guys make millions off of selling a dream to the masses? Why is hustle culture so prominent in America especially, and what made Gen Z so anti-hustle culture? Well, to understand hustle culture's impact and its flaws, we have to understand why it's so big in the first place. According to BBC, the entrepreneurial boom in the 1990s and early 2000s laid the foundation for the hustle culture narrative. They note the rise of venture capital financing helped build technology titans in Silicon Valley, companies including Google and Facebook, which rocketed to dominance. These high-profile successes, famous for their intense, all-consuming work cultures, cemented Northern California as a global hub for innovation and entrepreneurship. The very public tech and dot-com booms made your average Joe think that they could make it as an entrepreneur if they worked hard. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard somebody say that Steve Jobs started in his garage. Thanks to the internet and the rise of e-commerce, it is probably true that it is easier now than ever before to start your own business and be successful. So this inspired a lot of people to try and do so. The idea of working hard and being smart with your decisions has always been around. I mean, I just read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon with finance tips written from 1926. And even back in the 80s, Wall Street had a mantra of greed is good.
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big time, small time, shit talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
But hustling, working 3 jobs, grinding, thank God it's Monday, all that stuff is a little bit newer. Hustle culture ideology says that people are overworking not because they're economically driven to, but simply because this is the way go-getters get what they want. Growing up, I feel like this mindset was always placed upon me by others, whether it be family or teachers, who were saying that to achieve you need to simply work harder. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when I was in school, when they were teaching us about entrepreneurs, it was like the coolest thing, it was the best thing you could do, and it was part of the American dream. With again, Steve Jobs always being the go-to prime example. UC Riverside said, the picture of success looked like the stories of Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, people of power and high status who threw away their social life and focused all of their attention on developing what are now multi-billion-dollar enterprises. With these stories came with them the belief that the average person could also achieve such success if they did the same. I even remember watching this show in class in 8th grade called The Men Who Built America, which was a series about like the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, who were just the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. It seems like this idea is heavily ingrained in the American education system, and to be fair, it does make sense, especially for Americans. We've been hammered since we were kids with the idea of the American dream, the idea that everyone has the opportunity to achieve a better, prosperous life through hard work, determination, and initiative, regardless of where you start. Ironically, the Wikipedia page for the American dream says that originally, the emphasis was on democracy, liberty, and equality, but more recently has been on achieving material wealth and upward mobility. I could be reaching here a little bit, but I don't think I am, and I think that the idea of grinding until you make it to the top is an idea or a value that's been ingrained in American culture. So obviously, this is nothing new, and it seems to have really taken off with millennials especially. According to Highbrow magazine, there was a time when bragging about 80-hour work weeks, side hustles that bled into early morning grind set routines, and LinkedIn posts celebrating unpaid overtime was a badge of honor. Hustle culture, America's favorite brand of self-inflicted servitude, thrived on the illusion that success was a meritocracy of exhaustion, where working yourself to the bone was the golden ticket to prosperity. Millennials bought into it hard.
I worked my side hustles all weekend because the bills don't pay themselves and I honestly don't have a life. So these were all of my side hustles and how much I made doing each one.
Hustle, hustle, hustle. Sleep was sin in my household. Sin. I saw my dad asleep one time in my life.
And you can't teach hustle, folks. You either got this shit or you don't. I promise you. And I'm it. I got this shit. I promise you.
Obviously, this trend has crept into the younger generation as well, and it's become a very big thing. And this isn't just an issue individuals who want to succeed as business owners face. A lot of people in the white-collar world face it too. A lady named Paige Hansen, who was interviewed about this, said, "I worked when my boss worked. No time was off limits. Everyone expects everyone to be available 24/7 because you have your cell phone and your laptop with you always. There are even studies that show that the 40-hour work week is more of a myth because people actually tend to work 47 hours a week on average, and that roughly 25% of salaried workers work 60 hours a week, likely not getting overtime since, their salary. And the blue-collar world is obviously very difficult too. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you guys, and I think the memes speak for themselves.
My collar's blue and my neck is red.
So it's clear that everyone in every industry is encouraged to work hard and hustle. I mean, it feels like you have to get by nowadays with how pricey everything's becoming. But I think in the last decade or so, hustle culture reached its peak. There are two types of hustle culture in my opinion. The first is more traditional, and it encourages you to climb the corporate ladder. Work hard and remain loyal to your company, and one day you'll be the CEO, or at least some big executive. But the other type encourages entrepreneurship, and I feel like this is where things get even crazier. Gary Vee is among the first people that come to mind when I think of hustle culture. Gary Vaynerchuk is a serial entrepreneur, author, and most notably, the god of hustle culture. I don't know how many times I'm going to say hustle culture in this video. I apologize. I feel like I've already said it like 50 times, so just bear with me here. Now, others have come before Gary Vee singing a similar tune, but Gary Vee's very obnoxious and brash personality captured the internet's attention in a special way. At its core, his message wasn't bad. He said that if you work hard, save your money, sell things you don't need, and grind, you will be successful.
There's so many people that are talking shit about how big of an entrepreneur they're gonna be and how much they're gonna achieve, and they don't work on weekends. I worked every Saturday of my 20s. And I talk to 20-year-old entrepreneurs every single day. Lately, I've been saying to them, this Saturday, you're gonna have more time off than I've had in my entire 20s on a Saturday. So before you tell me how you're gonna be bigger than me, start thinking about what you're actually doing.
But he's also known for being a little bit ridiculous.
My whole life is about knowing everything about 13-year-olds, but you're in the jungle with them. I have to watch from above. Thank you, man. You're welcome, bro.
Regardless, his message is inspiring, and when he isn't saying crazy or extreme things, he may actually be making some good points. Him and others like him have inspired countless hustlers.
There was this sense that with massive effort came massive rewards. And the cool thing about that is effort is democratized. Anybody can put in effort. It wasn't about talent, it was about hard work. If you worked the hardest, you'd win.
Another person who blew up from this craze was Tai Lopez, who went viral for running this YouTube ad that so many people saw all the time that it became a huge meme.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge. In fact, I'm a lot more proud of these 7 new bookshelves that I had to get installed to hold 2,000 new books that I bought. It's like the billionaire Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Guys like Tai Lopez and Gary Vee were the prototype for much more annoying hustle gurus that would eventually come along. But here's why they were so successful. A lot of what they would say was true, just mixed in with a lot of random garbage. Tai Lopez isn't wrong in saying that knowledge is an important tool in success. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing, but he doesn't tell you what to read or give you the knowledge himself. He leaves you wondering how you can take your next step. That way, he can sell it to you. The most common trap you'll run into with these sorts of hustle culture gurus is that they will sell you a product, traditionally and most memeably, a course. Ironically, if you go to Tai Lopez's Wikipedia page, his career section begins with, in 2014, he created an online business course named 67 Steps to Success, which he described as learning the 67 steps to become a millionaire, how to live the good life, and the grand theory of everything. The course, ironically, was $67 a month. So basically, he started his career selling courses on how to be successful. He had apparently ran some dating sites early on and made some good money, which from what I've seen seem pretty illegitimate. Regardless, all of these gurus try to sell you something. I mean, Gary Vee recently launched his own NFT collection, which, well, you've seen how those usually go. And even the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy is a certified fraud. But hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people have bought his books. Alex Hormozi is one of the most recent people to promote hustle culture, and I'll admit he's not the worst. I like some of his content, just some of it, but he does get pretty ridiculous.
The first step is that we have to cut all costs. so that we can take more risk. When I say all costs, I mean all costs. That means you don't eat out anymore for anything. And if you're hungry, you deal with it. And if it's not from a discount grocery store, you don't buy it. Clothing, like what you have right now on your back is everything you need for the next 2 years, period. No exceptions, just keep reusing it. Trade or go to Goodwill.
Like this right here isn't that crazy. Saving money, especially when you don't have much, is a good practice. But then he'll say things like this.
I want to break the myth in this video that you need to go make $1 million and that you need money to make money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different ways that you can make $1 million for little or zero money down. The next one is that you can get people to give you their businesses for no money down. A good friend of mine actually did this, and he combined 4 different information businesses into one business, and they were all small businesses. They were all doing about $1 million-ish a year. I get small as relative, but and so he combined them all to be a $4 million top line, $1.5 million bottom line business for no money out of pocket. He literally said, hey, I know you don't want to do this business anymore. Just give it to me and I'll pay you the income that you were going to make for this business for the next 2 years. And they said, sure. And so he combined all those businesses together, and then overnight, he owned an asset that was doing $1.5 million a year in profit and $4 million in top line. And it cost him nothing to do it.
This video is titled 10 different ways to break down making $1 million. I remember watching this video a while ago and being really annoyed because his advice isn't inherently bad. Like, the ideas themselves aren't horrible, but they're all super vague and realistically unachievable for your average person. The hustle gurus all sell you a dream that it's actually not all that hard to make a ton of money. All you need is the knowledge, which is available if you click his link in the description and buy his course or his book or whatever else it is. Even watching Alex Hormozi's videos, I mean, he has to make so much money from his content. I can't imagine. He brings in crazy views, and that's how these guys really make their money. It's not because they're some insane entrepreneurs. Overall though, I think everyone I've covered so far is alright. They're not the worst people ever. The basic core advice that they give is solid, and the mindset they suggest is alright, but it's just vague enough and just flashy enough to get you, the viewer, to buy into it. Once you get a little deeper down the hustle culture pipeline, past the more motivational stuff, you get to the even more extreme people. Of course, there was Andrew Tate, who sold his Hustlers University, which was like $50 a month, where you could learn that you were brainwashed, but I don't think we need to go too deep into him and his scandals. That's all too obvious. However, Sebastian Gorgeau, or however you're supposed to say his name, is probably one of the best modern examples I have of hustle gurus. He blew up on TikTok for saying things like this.
That goes to a church in Arkansas. He's 17. He started dropshipping 2 months ago. I don't know how many products he's tested, but it failed initially. He spent $1,000. He lost all his money. He saved up some money and tried again. So far this week, he's made $5,000 with 30% margin. So he's made his money back and then some. And he uses the free course. It's free. And the truth is he's just a random kid from Arkansas, right?
You're a random kid from Arkansas.
Yeah, we're all random kids. If you're a guy in your 20s and you don't have a Lamborghini, you should actually sit down and have like a serious discussion with yourself as to why you don't have a Lambo.
Yep.
Because I realize now that it's so incredibly easy and there's so much money out there, and $200,000 relative to what is out there in circulation and what you can grab, especially now with AI tools that you can leverage like never before, $200,000 is chump change. And people will say I'm out of touch with reality, and they can suck it because it's just not true.
And I really don't like this guy. I used to get so many of his TikToks on my feed, and he's the most blatant example of, I rented this Lambo with my dad's money until enough people fell for it and bought my course, and I could eventually buy my own. And the reason I know that people do this is because I'm familiar with YouTube gurus who have told me they've rented penthouses and cars so that they can exaggerate their wealth and then sell courses on how you could do it yourself too if you start a YouTube channel. The worst thing about Sebastian in particular is he's one of the newer hustle gurus, and there are tons of people, like I just mentioned, similar to him online selling these ideas. There are lots of different methods that people like this will promise to teach you. Day trading, you just buy stocks low and sell them high. Boom, you're rich. Drop shipping, you just make a website, find a cheap supplier in China, and mark up the prices without ever having to risk buying inventory. Faceless YouTube channels, use AI to make a bunch of shitty YouTube channels at once that will bring in tons of money. And trust me, there are plenty of methods that these people will promote.